Howdy and hello everyone, my name is Blitz. I hope your week is going well. To be perfectly honest, I do not own an Xbox One, and I've yet to try out Xbox 360 backwards compatibility on a friend's Xbox One. However, I've read up quite a bit on articles and watched Digital Foundry videos detailing the performance of Xbox 360 games running on the newer system. I'm not an absolute expert, but I can honestly express how impressed I am that Microsoft has managed to pull this off in the first place, even with the often degraded performance. The Xbox 360 was incredibly powerful for its time, with an IBM-developed 3-core CPU known as Xenon, and arguably the most powerful graphics processor in any consumer product in late 2005, known as Xenos. Moving back to present times, and in view of backwards compatibility, there are two main performance-limited issues in emulating the Xbox 360's hardware on the Xbox One that jump out at me. That is, in emulating the Xbox 360's Xenon CPU, especially in light of its massive gigaflops potential, and in that the Xbox One does not have an equivalent memory bus of 256 gigabytes per second that exists between the render output units and the embedded DRAM on the graphics daughter die. The former is by far the bigger issue, and much like that with the extremely controlled backwards compatibility of Xbox games on the Xbox 360, 360 titles on Xbox One essentially have custom emulators, or at least custom emulation optimizations for each game to better suit them on the Xbox One hardware. Microsoft could actually be going into the game code and replacing native SIMD instructions to ensure smooth performance. Well, whatever the case, the whole backwards compatibility thing on the Xbox One I think is a huge waste of time for anything outside of exclusive titles. The other major case is multiplayer on Xbox Live, but my main focus here is single player experiences. And I don't give a poop about achievements. While it does represent a new marketing opportunity to sell Xbox 360 games directly to customers who've never had an Xbox 360, I am interested in how much it really costs Microsoft, or whoever, to write the custom code for emulating these games. Certainly exclusive games like Halo, Gears of War, Forza, and even console exclusives like Red Dead Redemption make a great case for backwards compatibility. But at the same time, you can already play these games on cheap, readily available Xbox 360 hardware without any performance hiccups. Except for the case of having a single do-everything system, I don't see a practical reason for me, the consumer, to want backwards compatibility on the Xbox One when I already have an Xbox 360. And yes, I do have an Xbox 360. There are really no benefits, not even a resolution upscale. Now what if I was to tell you that there was a better way of experiencing so many of the awesome past generation games in true 1920 by 1080p resolution and 60 frames per second? Many of you know instantly what I speak of. I'm not here to berate you on being a console shill or to gloat about as being a member of the PC master race. I'm more or less extending an open hand of invitation as a gamer, as with the PC we can better enjoy so many of the games of yesteryear in ways that the Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 simply cannot handle. Understandably, jumping into PC gaming might be financially out of reach, especially since you might have to acquire the hardware if you don't already possess it. You also might be purchasing games you might already have on console. Luckily, computer hardware is pretty cheap these days, and we don't need top-of-the-line PC components to enjoy past-gen games at 1080p and up to 60 FPS. Just as importantly, there is the benefit of sales on Steam, GOG, and other game digital download services which can often be as cheap, if not cheaper, than a used Xbox 360 or PlayStation 3 title at your local game shop. For past-gen titles, it doesn't take much to enjoy them at 1080p and up to 60 FPS. You can upgrade an older tower computer, build a brand new system, or save buku bucks by purchasing used components from eBay, Craigslist, or whatever seedy method you prefer, because I know you're a bunch of dirty people. Anyways, generally any older quad-core or even newer dual-core processor does the trick. Intel Core i3s, especially ones from the 2000 series or newer, are even sufficient enough for current generation games, making them a great springboard into mainstream PC gaming in general. Pair that with something like a Radeon 7750 or GTX 750 with a gigabyte of GDDR5 memory, and you have instant gaming goodness that's even capable of playing some newer games. As said earlier, you can build pretty cheaply with parts from Newegg or even more cheaply with used parts. Better yet, you could upgrade an old tower PC just like I did with my fiance's PC, which originally just had an i3-2120 with HD 2000 graphics and 6GB of DDR3 memory. In late 2013, I put a GDDR5 equipped Radeon 7750 in it, and it instantly became a decent light gaming machine. When we moved into our current place a couple months ago, I hooked up her desktop to our living room TV and paired it with a wireless Xbox 360 controller using a wireless adapter. It's become like another gaming console, Just like with a console, HDMI cable handles both picture and sound. The only other cable involved is the power cable. The controller, keyboard, and mouse are all wireless. The PC is equipped with Windows 7 as its operating system, and it's used pretty much exclusively for Steam in big picture mode, which works absolutely great with a controller. Recently, I played through and beat Shadows of Mordor, a current generation game on this light gaming system. Of course, I had the settings reduced, but I was still playing at 1080p with medium graphics that did not look too far off from the PlayStation 4 and Xbox One graphics. Even with poop tons of enemies on screen, it still stayed north of 30 frames per second. As for older past-gen titles, Tomb Raider 2013, Rainbow Six Vegas 2, Grand Theft Auto 4, and even the original Crysis all run very well on it at 1080p. Does your Xbox 360 or PS3 do that? I don't think so. Even if it's just for older games or a light gaming PC for the living room, I hope this maybe inspires you to jump into PC gaming if you haven't already. Ironically enough, consoles have become more complicated like PCs, and PCs have become more simplified like consoles. Who would have thought of that 10 years ago?